Welcome back to Occasional Randomness. I'm your host, Eric Scott, and joining me, as always, my fellow co-host, someone who doesn't know art but knows what he likes, Jason Johnson.
The art, it speaks to me. What can I say? Art, is it speaking to you if you feel it? Maybe I feel what it's saying. Anyway,
Is it scratch and sniff? Can you smell it?
I really wanted to break out like a needle-like device and be like, it's a record, and you just kind of go around. Anyway, we'll get there.
It's a big white painting. It's rabbit in a snowstorm.
Oh, you're crossing the streams. I
As
love it. I
seen
love
as
it.
seen on Daredevil for the last 4 years. Yeah.
Or is it 14 years at this point?
Well, yeah, about 8. No, we have what 10 years given the gap, and yeah. So
Yeah. We're coming up on our 10-year, I think, on this stuff. So
yeah, that's scary. Anyway, where does the time go?
yeah, evidently it jumps every 3 episodes.
Yeah, which we'll get into here in a second. Yeah. So it was 1 year ago we last talked to you.
Yeah. It feels like it.
Yeah. But yeah, so speaking of which, this time around we're in the second of the 4 chapters in season 2 of Star Wars Andor. And like we said, more on that here in a minute. And yes, Farscape fans out there, we apologize once again. We will definitely get back to Farscape after Andor. Although in about 3 weeks, Ironheart, the next Marvel thing, will come out. So, but hey, who knows? We haven't done every Marvel thing. Sometimes they don't work out. So who knows? Again, as always, stay tuned. Check out the show notes and episode titles to see what we're doing. Or hey, go back and listen to some old stuff. We have 3.5 years of Farscape. Go reminisce for a while.
Yeah, we will get to it, but we got to keep it a little bit random. It's in the title, so it's kind of mandatory at this point.
Yeah, it's part of our charter. We have to do that.
Lawyers say we have to anyway.
Yeah. And as always, our little PSA, if you like what we do here, please give us a like or a review, or better yet, spread the word. Let people know about us on all the socials. We would appreciate it. Alrighty, so Andor Season 2, Episodes 4 through 6. So we'll do our little recaps here. So first off, oddly enough, would be Episode 4, Ever Been to Ghorman? 1 year, there we go. After the incident on Mina Rao, Cassian and Bix have become active operators for Luthen and hide out on Coruscant, although Bix is still having nightmares of ghosts like every night. Meanwhile, on Ghorman, the Empire has begun building their armory. Syril's there, and with Deidre and Major Partagaz's backing, has taken up a position in Palmo, the capital city of Ghorman, and is pretending to be sympathetic to the local rebels' cause to feign being recruited. Upon learning from Lieutenant Jung that Dedra is secretly working on the planet, Luthen sends Cassian undercover to assess the rebels. Wilmon, remember him, has been tasked with teaching Saw Gerrera, remember him, and his lieutenant Pluty how to configure a really complicated machine that extracts rhydinium, a fuel source for the Empire starships that they plan on stealing. And rounding out our little quad set of cast people here, Mon Mothma unsuccessfully attempts to rally support to kill the renewal of a big bill, giving broad power to the ISB.
Which then jumps us into episode 5, I Have Friends Everywhere. Kiera learns that Skuldrin intends to search Luthen's gallery room after one of his pieces turns out to be a forgery, threatening to expose a bug she planted in the room and forcing her to extract it during an upcoming investiture party. Cassian, meanwhile, connects with the Ghorman rebels and learns that they plan to intercept a weapons shipment, but he deems that they are too inexperienced and shoots down the plan, much to everybody's frustration. Syril reports back to Coruscant with news of the heist, and Major Partagaz and Deidre agreeing to let it go through to empower and control the rebels. Then we jump to Saw, who kills Pluty after learning that he's a traitor and has Wilmon work on the extractor on the heist instead.
And then finally for this round here, episode 6, What a Festive Evening. Cassian insists that the Ghorman rebels are unprepared and argues with Luthen upon learning that he attempted to persuade Bix to return to action behind his back. Luthen, however, chastises him for his short-sighted vision and instead sends Vel and Cinta to help the rebels pull off the heist.
Surely that'll work out well.
Yeah. And hey, things are going well. Vel and Cinta actually reconcile and rekindle the romance. And the heist is successful, sort of. Unfortunately, one of the fighters disobeys Vel's orders and brings a blaster to the heist. And of course, the one time it gets shot, accidentally shoots Cinta when a passerby interferes, which of course devastates Vel. At Skulden's investiture party, Krennic shows up and Mon Mothma, and they debate the ethics of war. While meanwhile, Clay is hanging out the side there, managing to slowly extract the bug using Lieutenant Jung as a distraction. And finally, we see Bix breaking into Gorst's new office on Coruscant and uses his own torch device on him before leaving with Cassian, who remotely blows up the facility. All right, so that was our action-packed second trilogy here of stories. And yeah, we had all these questions about the last three episodes, and pretty much they're almost answered immediately by this next chapter because it said 1 year
Yeah.
later.
They
So,
didn't leave us much suspense, did
nope.
they?
It's like whatever happened before, that was 1 year ago. So apparently, every three episodes is, like we said before, a chapter in the larger story, and apparently each one will be 1 year ahead of the last one. So all of our wonderful questions about what would Mon do or think about Luthen killing the banker, what's his name, last time, and whatever else we have questions about, who cares? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So,
He's old news. Gone.
yeah, yep, he's dead. She's still doing her thing. No one cares. So yeah, this is from what it looks like. This is going to end either right before Rogue One or like how they kind of started up Rogue One, of just like right when how Star Wars ended. So yeah, so it was right before Star Wars started. So yeah, it's gonna be like something like that. So that's the question: are we gonna have it end like seconds before the credits roll on Rogue One, or is there like a time gap? I don't know. We'll see.
I think they could jump it right to where, like, because doesn't that movie start with Andor doing a job um, on Coruscant or somewhere like that, and he ends up shooting the spy. So spoilers for the beginning of Rogue One, but they could literally jump into that job and why he's there, because you don't really ever care about why he's there when you see him. So
Yeah, I haven't wanted to rewatch Rogue One quite yet, and I read somewhere, and I didn't go too much into it because I didn't want spoiling of Andor, that they've added some kind of scene into Rogue One. I don't know if it's at the beginning, at the end, somewhere that I guess references Andor. So yeah, it's gonna maybe come down right to like the minute. I don't know. We'll see. Or if you want to get really crazy with theories, because hey, what the heck? It's our podcast. We give out wild theories. Who cares? Will there be like a mid or ending credit scene at the end of Andor that shows Cassian and maybe Jin somehow surviving at the end of Rogue One? Or maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know. I think there's a good setup there for maybe a Rogue Two movie. I can kind of see it now with the tagline, somehow Andor returned, right? Because they haven't used that yet. So oh wait,
Yeah. I mean,
they
well,
used that one.
yeah, we had, Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12. I mean, Rogue One, Rogue Two. I mean, come on. This stuff writes itself. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, if the Emperor can come back after being thrown into the Death Star reactor, anybody can come back. So
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. It's science fiction.
yeah,
We didn't really see the bodies, so, that's how it works.
yeah. You never trust it if you don't see a body. I think that's a rule somewhere.
Yep. All right, so let's gonna start diving in. As before, since there's kind of several plots and several sets of so far mostly disconnected people, let's just kind of go through each group of folks individually here. I guess the kind of quicker one here would be Will. I guess Will. Remember him? I guess he's still around. He's doing things. This time he's off to train one of Saul Guerrera's team on how to use some kind of really overly complicated device to extract fuel. I'm like, you can't have like a gas can and a hose. Like, I don't get what. Is it this difficult? I don't know. But we get to meet Saw again, or I guess in this case, well, yeah, he was in the last episode. He was in first Andor, right? Who seems to be just as insane crazy as all the other times we've seen him. And maybe now we know why. He seems to really love huffing starship fuel fumes. So,
Yeah, and I guess maybe you're right. I'd forgotten that we had seen him before, because I was going to make a comment about how many times we see Saw Gerrera turn up in Star Wars properties, but I guess if he's already been in this one, it doesn't count twice. He's just a recurring character. But
I think he was in last season of Andor, wasn't he? I can't, maybe. I don't know. It's been like three years since I don't know, at least.
I think so, because I think there was the group of rebels that Luthen was dealing with, where he let him get killed off for some reason,
Mhm.
so they didn't expose it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right. But either way, he continues to show up season by season, and I'd like to see a comparison for how many episodes he's in versus like probably either Vader or Kenobi for who's got the most appearances, because I think between all the properties, those will be the three most consistent characters.
Yeah, and he's even been animated too, right? So he's
Right.
yeah.
Well, he started.
That's where we first saw
I
him
think
in
he's
Clone Wars, right? Yeah.
right. He was a Clone Wars character originally.
And now we're filling in
So
the backstory or the forward story because after Clone Wars, yeah. So and yeah, he's just slowly getting more off his rocker as as we see him go. So
yeah, I think was he in Rebels? I'm trying to remember if he was in Rebels. That's the only one I'm trying to remember if I saw him in or not.
I don't know. I mean, at some point he buys it, right? I can't remember which one that is. Yeah,
Huh.
I don't know. Well, hey, maybe we'll find out
Yeah. Well, they're still using him,
or
so who
not.
knows? He
Yeah.
could appear in he could appear in Mandalorian at this point. So
Hmm. Yeah. Maybe he'll be in the movie. Yeah. If they need to see some star power, they'll throw him in there. I don't know. Like I said, you don't see the body. He can come back anytime.
that's right. He was mostly cybernetic anyway.
Hmm.
So
But yeah, I guess finishing out that little plot line, it was fun to see Will again, but s- that line was a little confusing. Well, especially well, more or less the extractor machine was really confusing. That just seemed way too complicated. Like there's over 30 or so combinations or whatever they call them. Why? It's a fuel depot. Are they that overly complicated? I mean, I guess they could be. That's the ultimate bureaucracy in action, right? But that just seems in the end, I don't know. All he was doing was keeping the indicator inside the lines, and that was pretty much it. So how complicated could that be? I don't know. And then I guess my other nitpick, or not nitpick, but questioning is why did they seem so interested in who sent Will to them? Wouldn't they already know? Like they're part of a rebellion, so it's like whoever his boss, whoever's kind of running things would have sent him, which was probably Luthen. Now, does Saw know Luthen? Don't know. Maybe not. But
well, they've met.
yeah, yeah.
So
So if they're all part of the rebellion, why does he keep trying to figure out like who sent you? Like get a clue. Maybe you're too coming off the fumes of the of the fuel. I don't know, but or maybe there's like different levels of the rebellion. So did maybe Luthen send Will via somebody else? So maybe Saul's just trying to back up the cells to get to so he has more information about Luthen or whatever. I don't know, but a little confusing. But yeah, whatever.
yeah, I'll completely agree with that. This is of all the plot points that we've kind of got circling around in this show. This is the one that I'm kind of like I don't understand how it fits into the major arc. If they do like they did last season, you'll have all these different threads, and they all kind of come together when you hit the final 3 episodes. And I feel like this one, I can't see where it's going yet. So they're either doing a really good job of keeping this confused, and it's going to come out of nowhere, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. If I had to stretch and look for something, I guess I'd say maybe it's how they're going to tie the different rebellion cells and start bringing them together. Because by the time you hit Rogue One leading into the A New Hope, you start putting all the different factions of the rebellion together into the alliance, right? So is this kind of showing us how the different cells and clusters work together, or is it just a chance for Saw Gerrera to ham it up on the screen for a little bit?
Yeah, that's a good point. Because yeah, by the time we get to the movies, they're all this one cohesive unit. They're all friends. They're all buddies. It's not like there's like different cells. Or if there were, it wasn't important enough to mention in the movies. So yeah, is this just them filling in the gaps of how we got from Mon funding a couple people and that turned into a thing, into a bigger thing? Or since we've never seen it yet, is this leading into them stealing the plans for the Death Star? Or
Then they'd have they
g-
had to
g-
show a bunch of Bothans,
getting to where the
right?
Bothans are, right? So maybe Saw's gonna work with the Bothans, and then okay, there's the Bothans. Okay, Rogue One, cut. I don't know, or something.
So that have we actually seen Bothans in the current Disney universe?
Cartoons, maybe? Are they animated? I don't.
I don't know, because
Have we? No, maybe not.
in the old Legends / expanded universe, whatever we call it back in the day, they were like cat-like creatures, if I remember right. So I'd
Something
be
like
interested to
that.
see what
Yeah.
they do with them in the modern Star Wars. If they keep that, or if they totally retcon it and do something different. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
an interesting thought. If we can get to the Bothans.
Yeah, because there were a bunch of books in the whatever they used to call it now, Legacy, Legends, whatever. Yeah, that did have some Bothans in it finally, So, but yeah, I
Oh,
don't know.
there was an X-wing fighter
Yeah,
pilot in the X-wing series,
one of the Oh, now I'm blank on the name. Rogue Squadron. Yeah, right.
right? Yep.
That would be cool if they do that. I'd like to see that series. Anyway, we digress.
Never.
Or make a movie on that. Whatever. I don't care at this point. Do something. That'd be fun.
Maybe call it Starfighter.
Yeah, be a great game to play. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else about the Saw Gerrera and Will plot before we move on? I don't know. It seems like Will might be having second thoughts about this whole thing since Saw was looks like he was going to kill him maybe, and then he turned around and shot his flunky little Flutie guy who was the spy. But yeah, Will's not seem to have a good time with some things here. Good luck with some stuff. So his luck might run out here by the next episode, the next chapter.
I don't know, man. After taking off his mask and just huffing the fumes, I'm just gonna put a question mark in this one, and I have no idea what they're doing here.
Yeah, maybe now he and Saw are buddies now that they've joined the whatever hookah fume club or whatever they're doing. I have no idea what they're.
Yeah, that's one way to get bought in.
Yeah, getting good with the boss. There you go. Always a good sign. All right, so that plot's done for now. Tune in next time for a year later when Will and Saw are doing who knows what. All right, so now we got our bureaucracy guy Syril here, who's now acting undercover on Ghorman, working for the ISB, which just kind of goes back to what we saw last time with Dedra and the ISB saying, or her plan was, you have to have an insurgency on Ghorman, but like a really bad one, to help get the real agenda of mining the planet, I guess more, working better, or to get it off without having problems. And kind of a really funny scenes where Cyril's in his office talking to his mom, and apparently the resistance has tapped into his comms, and they look like really sympathetic towards Cyril, having to listen to his mom and just going on and on and on, and they're like, "Whoa!" So
Yeah,
seems like mom didn't really listen to Didra that much. I don't.
well, I mean, she does think that Deidre's out of the picture for now, right? So she doesn't need to listen to her because they split when he left the planet, theoretically.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you're gonna drum up sympathy for somebody, Cyril's a good character for that, especially if you got a chance to leverage his mom. I don't know that was intentional, but it definitely works in their advantage.
Yeah, because now they're like, man, this guy just probably hates everything. He's a good candidate to recruit.
Yeah, he's gonna turn on his own before too much
Yeah,
longer. So,
he's just gonna quit and run out the door screaming before we. But yeah, I kind of like him being kind of like the bumbling or the cut rate James Bond kind of character, right? He's kind of fumbling through things, but he's kind of not. Like he does have some skills. Like when he put the little tiny wire across the bottom of the door frame to his quarters to see if anybody broke in, that's very 007. I think that was in like the first 007, like Doctor No, I think it was, where he put like a piece of his hair across his closet, and then when he came back, it was gone. So it's like someone broke into his room and went through his stuff. So cool, he's got some skills. But then his like awkward interactions with the one rebel guy who tries to give him instructions on how to meet with the resistance, or and more spider figures because Ghorman, it's like planet mascot, right?
which my wife loved, by the way. That was the highlight of watching it, which was her having to look away as we anything that involved spiders was out. So
Yeah, I'm just bad with the big ones, like Lord of the Rings. She loved that. Was like, oh, can't watch that.
yeah, she didn't watch that one either.
And then he's going to the Scorman Trade Council or meeting, whatever it was, and then he starts to help them later by giving them the freight schedules. And then for some reason, I guess he either forgot or had to run and tell Deidre that stuff was going well. So it was after hours in the office. He had to bluff his way past the night shift Empire guards to get into the secret communication room with Deidre. So he's you kind of feel for him, but then it's like you're kind of hoping he doesn't win. But this is the whole plan. So the plan's going perfectly according to the Empire's set up here. So.
Which is kind of funny, right? Because like you said, it's interesting to see Cyril, who really we spent the first season with him being an antagonist, right? He was not anybody we were really sympathetic towards, and I kind of enjoyed seeing him actually be good at things for a change. So he had some interesting moves. Like you said, you mentioned his little spycraft tricks and things like that. That he probably got like the crash course from ISB on how to do it, or maybe his old commando buddy showed him some stuff back when they were, you know, storming planets back in season one. But yeah, it was kind of neat to see he mixed that with his awkwardness, which actually makes him more believable because nobody can be that incompetent, right? So
Right.
obviously he's got to be trustworthy. Yeah, kind of the incompetent, competent person.
Yeah, and with a mom like that, that's not an act. That's a real deal. So he must be, a sad sack, kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah, played a type, right?
Hmm. And then keeping with that plot, so now Luthen hears about stuff going on in Ghorman from his mole inside the ISB. That one Lieutenant Jung guy doesn't look like he really wants to be there. So I don't know what Luthen's got on him, but it's good enough. So. And he sends Cassian to Ghorman to talk to the rebels. And here we kind of see like the other side of things, kind of like the better James Bond, or at least the better prep James Bond than Syril, right? As he's leaving Luthen, he's listening to a whatever we call it, headphones or whatever about his cover identity as a clothing designer. So then when he gets to Gorman, he's acting like it. When he interacts with the hotel staff, which is kind of cool, and the local rebel at the cafe, and he's kind of like subtly questioning everybody to see like what's the real public sentiment, where the rebels' strengths and weaknesses, without just coming out and like, hi, I'm here to investigate your little rebellion, so I thought that was pretty well done, and it was pretty cool, entertaining part of the episode.
Yeah, and funny enough, this leads me to something I feel is like the real downfall of the show, which is funny you mentioned that as the positive, and I do think it's positive. But and I think this is going to be something we come up to as we talk further, and through the different episodes of the show in the next couple blocks of 3 episodes. But I think it's unfortunate that we've got this. They're building this really interesting, capable spy character, which we haven't had a lot of in the Star Wars universe. But we've already got a ticking clock on their story. We joked at the beginning that there may be a way they try to interject something to bring him back, however improbable. But it kind of feels like a shame we're not going to get a lot more stories with this character after they build up this interesting spy world. And how are they going to do something with that, knowing the character has to reach the beginning of, or excuse me, the end of Rogue One and where they kind of buy it. So
Yeah, so now when I rewatch Rogue One, we have a whole different opinion on him for sure, and and how we got there. So yeah, it'd be interesting after we watch the end of Andor, I'm gonna check out Rogue One again just to see.
yeah, and it's probably wishful thinking on my part a little bit there, wanting to see more of it. I mean, realistically, most Disney live action shows haven't gotten more than a couple seasons. So we're already on season 2, so this probably will legitimately be the end of it. But it, just kind of, I don't know. I come from the old world of, give me, 7 20 episodes of a show. So, or seasons of a show, let's just keep it going. And I kind of miss the long running shows a little bit. I think this will be a great one to have like your caper of the week almost
Hmm.
going. So
Yeah, because you have your dueling spies. You can have the Empire spies, the Rebel spies. It'd be it could be a whole thing. But yeah, like to your point, nowadays most things maybe get 3 seasons at the most. On the average. So yeah, I mean, and this one sure isn't because of where we said it's going. So yeah, this is it. So, unless they pull off some kind of weird thing at the end of Rogue One or something, and yeah, probably not. We got 6 more episodes, and that's it.
yeah, well, so I guess we'll have to enjoy them.
Yeah. And then yeah, so after Cassian meets with everybody finally and sees everything that they have, he's like, "Yeah, I'm not really sure you're quite there yet to pull off this weapons heist on your own. So you shouldn't do it. I'm going to tell Luthen that nope, these guys are idiots. Not yet. Don't do it." So of course Luthen listens to him, and that's the end of the 3 episodes. Next, no. So nope, Luthen overrides him, but he does send Vel and Cinta to help them at least. To okay, well if they're not good enough yet, let's send some more help. Although it probably wouldn't matter how bad they are, like we said, because the Empire wants ineffective rebellion, so they're gonna want them to succeed anyway to help prop them along so they can get what they want. So they probably would have pulled it off anyway without any extra help from Luthen or Cassian. But it is fun to see that even though the rebels have all these hidden assets in the Empire, they're still fallible, right? They don't know everything. They're not everywhere, and they certainly aren't everywhere in the ISB's inner workings here. So they can still be played. So it's fun to watch kind of like how the spy versus spy kind of thing going on.
Yeah, good point on them succeeding because the Empire wants them to. It's kind of it does a couple things. It gives us a feeling of competency of the Empire, right? The Empire is still this big threatening bad. Because if this little fledgling rebellion was actually able to pull anything over on the Empire, it would show how bad the Empire is managed. Um, but it also shows how capable Andor is, right? Because he was right all along. They shouldn't have done this. They weren't ready. They were only succeeded because they were played. And I think their lack of readiness is up costing Cinta a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah. And speaking of which, so yeah, their plan that Vel and Cinta came up with looked great on paper and looked great for most of it. But as we know, the old adage, no plan survives contact with the enemy, or in this case, your own team members, really.
The enemy of my enemy is my wait.
Yeah, right. Is the guy next to me? Yeah, that one idiotic rebel guy who just wanted to do things, now, and why have to wait? Why, why can't we bring blasters? It's like, no, look, do what they tell you to, and you'll be fine. Nope, he didn't. So he brings along a blaster when Vel's like, do not do it. Although I didn't quite get the thing that set him off was like the loudest complainer at the where workers' council or whatever it was meeting in Gorman, like the guy that doesn't like the Empire. So why would you want to shoo this guy away or flex on him to like, I'm going to pull my gun out if you don't get out of here? Because he'd be the most sympathetic person you could probably find to help you keep doing what you're doing.
That part really confused me. I'm glad you brought that up because I was like, as we were watching it, I actually didn't recognize the character right off, and I thought it was just a bystander. And it's like, oh, he's just a neighborhood guy who's belligerent, and not playing along with them, keeping him from getting home or something like that. And it's like, no, he's legitimately part of the group. So that made no sense at all for him to draw and threaten him. Like, what was he stopping him from doing?
Yeah, because he's probably even more mad at the Empire than you are, even though he's not
Well,
doing anything about it. But so it's like bring him on, or say, hey man, we're just doing this real quick. Just keep a lookout, make sure no one's coming, and just please, whatever, something. But no, he instead, I don't know, thinks too much of himself, or maybe he doesn't really know that guy that well. I don't know. But they get into a fight for some reason because of course they're both stubborn and well plot. But anyway, and the guy pulls out his blaster and shoots it once, and that one shot unfortunately shoots Cinta, which I did not see coming. And then of course when they're leaving, and the guy's like crying hysterically in the truck or whatever, and Vel's like, "Look, guy, deal with it. This is what you signed up for. Like, what do you expect was going to happen?" Right?
this was definitely the action piece of this arc, which was kind of nice, right? You got all the twists and turns, and like you say, you don't see it coming. But I was trying to go back and rewatch season one right before we jumped into this, and it's kind of a nice contrast if you take their first job as a team, where you have Cinta and Val on the first heist with Andor, and then compare it to now, and how many of them actually made it out alive with that heist versus how many made it out alive this time. Other than Cinta, they did pretty good. So chalk one up for success.
Yeah, I guess they're getting better at what they do. So
Of course, we already mentioned that the Empire let them,
yeah,
but
so
still, we won't call them out on that too loudly.
yeah, because even Cyril's there watching them. It's like, okay, they're doing it now. Okay, okay, yeah, we'll get ready to send the people in. No, not yet. Hang on, keep them back. So
Yeah, don't let the guards actually go out where they're supposed to be yet.
yeah,
Let them get a little further.
so yeah, probably could have done it all without losing one of our main characters or supporting characters. But then again, since we're jumping forward every a year, every episode, I don't know, maybe we wouldn't have saw her again anyway. Plus, actually, the actress who plays Cinta was on this last season of Doctor Who, so she had to leave anyway to go film that. So there you go.
Timey wimey wibbly wobbly.
Yep, meta stuff. Yeah, timey wimey. And let's see. So we need some more drama, but this time let's switch over to Luthen, Clea, and Mon Mothma. The political and sneaky side of things. Kind of get insight to Mon's the day job here. She doesn't have much luck in the Senate with trying to rally support to stop a bill going through the Senate that gives more power to the ISB. Although we do meet a character we've seen a few times here and there, mostly in the animated stuff, Bail Organa. So, hey, more links to the movies and larger Star Wars properties. Although I'm kind of curious, yeah, as things get closer to Rogue One, i.e., the next two sets of episodes here, I'm kind of interested to see if we're gonna get more of Bale now and how he fits into things, and maybe how he got Leia into things, because obviously Leia was at the end of Rogue One. Spoilers for if you haven't seen Rogue One.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting question, right? Do you think this will actually be a recurring role in this show, or was it just kind of a quick Easter egg for the fans, to let him, kind of tie this to the larger universe, like you said. With, we've got we've got Leia in Kenobi. I think was the last time we saw Bale, so it's kind of neat to see. Can they tie the different shows together a little bit with the character? And oh yeah, remember this is still taking place in this larger universe. Um,
Yeah, I would hope so,
I also,
because we're getting closer to when he's on Alderaan and then poof. So, if you want to see more of him, you only got like, a little bit to go, unless we have other spin-off series of, what else is happening behind the scenes. But it'd be curious to see. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously part of the rebellion. So, yeah, what's he doing? How's he involved in things? Because maybe he only got 6 more episodes to ever see him again. So, I don't know.
well, definitely, yeah, because I mean, what he was at the beginning of Rogue One, so somewhere between Rogue One and the end of Episode 4, so it wasn't very much
Yeah.
jump there. That was a quick jump back to Alderaan. Bad move there.
Yeah, I mean, he's got like, what, 3 years to go? So, I mean, he's, I mean,
Yeah,
so, yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting, and the other thing I was going to comment is that it's kind of a neat thing to see. Once again, how much better they could do it, a little bit of political drama in these shows than they ever did in the prequels. So I just always kind of think about that when I see the little bit of political drama, because they don't like stay on it too long. You get just enough, and then they kind of move on. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of feel that way
yeah.
anyway.
I mean, if they want to, they do like a West Wing with Star Wars, where get politics, get the politics side.
Get Ian McDermott to come back and just do a whole, Emperor Palpatine in the Senate years.
Yeah, you cut to him in the throne room. I mean, his office. Talking to his chief of staff, whatever. Yeah, you get the whole.
Did didn't Robot Chicken do that with him and Vader? Anyway,
Yeah. Okay, so it's been done before. Never mind. Okay, and probably much better than they would do it if they did it live. So yeah.
yeah,
And let's see. Yeah, so the big thing with Luthen and Clea this time around is Skulden's assistant, or whoever she was, mentions that one of Skulden's art pieces was called out as a forgery. So of course now he has to make sure all of his things are legit. So they're going to reevaluate all his stuff, which, much to Clea's dismay here, means that will probably expose this listening device that she had planted in one of his pieces. So now we have kind of like our little mini Mission Impossible plot here, where she has to get the bug out, but she can't go like off hours, or she can't sneak in. So they have to do it like during the party. And kind of a nice use of our little ISB mole that she kind of abuses and gets him to do what she wants. And he wants nothing to do with it. He doesn't even want to be there. He basically wants to run away as soon as he sees his boss there. He's like, it's like, but dude, like I said, with the Gorman rebel guy, suck it up and deal with it. You know, you're part of this, whether you like it or not. Sometimes that's just what you got to do, man.
and this actually kind of made it one of my favorite parts of. I don't even know if it was this, maybe even this whole 3-part or 3-episode arc was the interaction between the two of them while she's trying to get the device out. That, on one hand, you kind of think they're going to succeed, but they did a really good job of building that tension. And yeah, I think they did a good job, and those two characters sold it. So I really liked that interplay as they were trying to do it. And it was a great reuse of what's his name from Rogue One, bringing him in and have him and Mon Mothma doing that debate, right? So that scene really worked for me. I enjoyed it.
It was felt like, move to the left. What? Move to the left. But yeah, it was, again, kind of overly complicated, but again, it makes it for some fun drama. Are they going to pull it off? Well, of course, because we're only halfway through the show, so I didn't figure they would get caught, at least not yet. We got 6 more to go, and we have no clue where she is in Rogue One, so I don't know. We'll find out. But it was cool. It was a fun little mini drama, a little mini set piece.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that at the end. I have a theory, so we'll see if I can come back to it. But yeah, the interesting part to me on this one was that eh, as I said, I really did enjoy the interplay. But I think this piece really also kind of cemented Clara as a cool character to me. I wasn't quite sure how to take her for a lot of the rest of the show, and in this one, she was the one that had to call Luthen out, settle him down, because he was like he kind of freaked out over the listening device thing and was like ready to pack it in. So she kind of had to call him out, and I think just this season seems to be adding a lot more to her character than we had previously.
Yeah, because part of my bad memory from watching a show 3 years ago is she's not just the person that handles the comms and sets up the stuff. She just does more, and she's maybe not on par with Luthen necessarily, but they're close to equals, right? So it's kind of interesting to see more of what she does or what she can do or who she really, like, how much authority she really has in this whole thing.
Right.
And finally, the last of our disassociated cast here, we got Cassian and Bix. Bix keeps having these nightmares and acting strange in their apartment on Coruscant, and I thought for sure that she was going to be revealed as some kind of hidden asset for Gorst or for the Empire, because she was tortured by them and whatever. So I'm sure I was waiting for like some kind of dual personality kind of thing or something where she doesn't know she's a mole or or compromised, but her nightmares are her subconscious way of telling her that she's compromised. So I was waiting for that, and maybe she is. I don't know. We got 6 more episodes to go. She's nowhere in Rogue One, so something's going to happen to her, possibly. So yeah, is she a double agent or not? I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting take, and could just be right. I think either way, she's going to be the tragedy that makes Cassian kind of go dark. Because you remember, if I remember right at the top of Rogue One, he's a lot darker character than even he is right now. Right? He shoots the other rebel guy just because he couldn't get out of the away from the troopers and stuff like that. So they've got a bit to go before they get him there, but I can see using her as one of the catalysts to kind of cement him as being anything to take down the Empire.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, we'll see how they ended up here. Yeah, and yeah, it's kind of fun to kind of see like their kind of day-to-day life. I like her and Cassian grocery shopping on Coruscant, which I'm thinking is probably the first time we've ever seen a grocery store in Star Wars. Um,
Good point.
yeah,
Ah,
or a convenience store, a bodega, because they're in a city, planet kind of thing. So yeah, it was kind of fun.
we've seen diners.
Yeah, we've seen 50s diners. Never mind. Um, but yeah, to your point on the last podcast, it's kind of nice to see like what normal people do every day and what they're going through under the Empire. Although things seem okay here, like the storekeep guys kind of chat with her, and it sounds like everything's wonderful, and kind of Cassian's got some kind of like overprotectiveness or like jealousy paranoia thing. Like she's just talking to the shop guy. Just relax, dude.
Yeah, it gives us a nice perspective, right? Because you've got the struggle, like you said, we've got the regular people, but you also have the struggle between his like almost a PTSD level security concerns and her wanting to be somewhat normal, and is his overprotectiveness amplifying her PTSD from the torture and all, it's kind of an interesting interplay of how they're both like damaged characters, and are they helping or hindering each other sometimes.
Yep. And I guess his overprotectiveness kind of comes to a head later when he freaks out on Luthen when he hears that Luthen stopped by to give Bix a job or a job offer while he was out doing his little Ghorman spy thing. But things do seem to work out anyway. I guess because later she breaks into Gorst's office, which I thought it was going to ramp up as part of some other thing, like Gorst. They're talking that maybe setting him up there and like, expanding his program. So I thought that was going to go to like some other thing in the future here, but nope. She winds up getting the ultimate revenge on Gorst by hooking him up to his own machine and then leaving the building. So irony there. Especially if she turns out that she is compromised. That's the ultimate set of irony there, right? So, but that doesn't last too long with him being stuck to his own machine there, because we have our cool hero badass walk away from a scene when he clicks a button and the building blows up in slow motion behind him and they walk away.
Cool fade to black. Boom.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my question here is this going to be like is her struggles going to continue with them working jobs and stuff, or is this going to be kind of a way to get over her trauma and she's going to be cured ish and able to go on jobs and stuff with it as they jump forward in the next time jump? So kind of a way to get her more field worthy, which kind of leads me back to my plan with where's Clara and Bix at the end of this. Maybe the two of them can go off and they can be the super spy show we get for Rogue 2. The two of them. Get it? Rogue 2.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, the New Republic has to have an intelligence bureau, right? So
Right. So Bix and Clara are running the New Republic intelligence.
yeah, we can cut to them with maybe interacting a little bit with, somehow getting into like behind the scenes, giving, the Mandalorian jobs to do, without really knowing it, or you can kind of, or if they're part of the New Republic intelligence that we've seen a little bit here and there, not too much, but like other things going on with the, the Empire remnants there and whatever, and how that all fits together. But yeah, who knows? Could be.
You can still have Vel out there, kind of being their field agent, doing stuff too. So, you
Yeah, yeah. As long as they don't bite it in the next 6 episodes, yeah.
know. Well, we got a little ways to go. So,
Yeah. But we can
oh,
project ahead of future spin-off shows they could do. Yeah.
I got it. You can have a whole show with them, the three of them, and you have Luthen kind of giving them instructions through like a radio or something. Could be like a Charlie's Angels kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, so they go to an office with a speaker on a desk, and they get assignments and Luthen's maybe Major Young is now Bosley. He's sitting there and giving them the job. So who knows? You see, we just made a whole new episode. This is great.
Yeah, yeah. We could use some of that new AI stuff and actually have it write that for us, and probably could get a show made. So,
Yeah, dude, Charlie's Angels script was Star Wars. Let's see what it comes out
yep, with Andor characters.
with. Speaking of Andor characters, anything else we want to talk about that we didn't cover with these three or
No,
this year?
I, this year. Yeah, no, I think I'm ready for next year. I think I'm ready to jump and see where we get from here.
Yeah, I guess what was it? Was this 3 before Battle of Yavin, or was it 4? Which first one was 5, right? This was 4, so next time would be 3 years
Yes,
before.
3, 2, and then 1.
Yeah, or
So
the last one would be kind of 2-ish years, a year and a half, whatever that leads up right to. Well, actually, no, Battle of Yavin. So they have to have time for Rogue One, and then yeah, we'll see. We'll see where they end it.
yeah, because we don't know how long Rogue One was, do we?
No, even A New Hope, like how long was it? Probably a couple weeks ish, a month. I don't know. You kind of don't really put time to it, right?
Yeah, well, there's a fun rabbit hole that we probably don't have time for of jumping down how long Empire was, because how long was Luke training, right? So
Yeah, and how long did it take them with no hyperdrive to get to like a whole new star system, right? Probably quite a long
exactly.
time. But yeah,
Yep.
of course, you run out of food too. But anyway, we won't get there. That's a whole other.
Yeah, they got replicators, right? Or did I cross the streams again?
Yeah, it's like they have diners.
And cloners.
Yeah, with
What was the guy's name there? Dexter Jexter, something like that.
of course,
Anyway.
because yeah. Anyway, don't get me started. Yeah, it's a shame they didn't make any more films after Return of the Jedi, but they could.
Yeah, yeah. If we got all these good ideas though, they could have used stuff like this. We're just coming up with it on the fly.
Yeah, they stopped after 3 movies, and yeah, anyway, I don't know what this. All right. Anyway, before we go off again down another rabbit hole, of course, welcome to the podcast if you haven't joined us before.
Never.
Yeah. So next time we will continue going year by year through Andor and the life of Cassian and friends with season 2, final season, most likely, probably, because well, anyway, episodes 7 through 9. So that's your homework, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.